It was year 2011. Bloomberg TV was interviewing Elon Musk. The interviewer asks him about BYD, a Chinese battery company trying to make electric cars. Musk laughs, out loud, on camera. "I don't think they have a great product," he says, still laughing. Flash forward to January 2026. BYD just crushed Tesla. 2.26 million EVs sold. Tesla, 1.64 million. A 9% decline. The king is dead. Long live the king. But here's where it gets really interesting. Tesla's fall isn't the biggest story. Ford just took a $19.5 billion write-down on EVs. GM? Another $6 billion loss. Volkswagen is bleeding. Mercedes is panicking. And Toyota, the company everyone called slow and behind the times, is dominating with hybrids while everyone else crashes and burns. The $1 trillion bet on electric vehicles is either the smartest investment in history or the biggest bubble about to burst. We're about to find out which. Let's rewind to when Tesla looked unstoppable. Tesla's market cap exceeds every other automaker. Combined, Ford, GM, Volkswagen, Toyota, all of them, worth less than one company that barely makes 1 million cars a year. Wall Street didn't care about profits. They cared about the future. And Tesla was the future. The Model 3 dominated. The Model Y printed money. Gigafactories rose from dirt in months. Elon's cult of personality pulled people to showrooms like a magnet. By 2023, Tesla controlled 80% of the US EV market. 80%. Nobody else was even close. The cracks appear. But by 2024, something shifted. Tesla's US market share dropped to 38%, an 8-year low. The cause was competition. Real competition. Not compliance cars or concepts. Actual vehicles people wanted to buy. Hyundai's Ioniq 5, Kia's EV6, Ford's Mustang Mach-E, Rivian's R1T. These weren't Tesla killers individually, but together. Death by 1,000 cuts. When Elon went full mega and started running Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, protests erupted outside Tesla dealerships across Europe and America. Reports of vandalism, boycotts, sales tanking in Germany, down 76% in 1 month. Think about that. The CEO's political activities literally destroying sales. Tesla's second biggest market, critical to growth. And they're getting obliterated. The Chinese tsunami BYD didn't just beat Tesla, they destroyed them. In China, Tesla's market share dropped to 2% in some months. 2%. They fell out of the top 10 entirely. First time since August 2022. Meanwhile, BYD captured 32% of China's EV market. Not Tesla, not any American company. A company Elon Musk laughed at. How did this happen? Price. BYD's Seagull, a cute little EV, costs $9,900. Tesla's cheapest Model 3, $40,000. Technology. BYD's God's Eye, advanced driver assistance, standard on even their cheapest cars. Tesla charges $8,800 for full self-driving in China. You're asking Chinese consumers to pay almost as much for Tesla's software as they'd pay for an entire BYD vehicle. That's not a hard choice. And it's not just BYD. Geely, NIO, Xpeng, Li Auto, Xiaomi, yes, the phone company, launched an EV in 2024 and they're already taking market share. By 2025, the 5 biggest Chinese automakers control 43% of the global EV market. Not American, not European, Chinese. December 2025. Fourth quarter results drop. Deliveries, 418,000 vehicles. Down 15.6% year over year. Annual sales, 1.64 million. Down 8.6%. Tesla's biggest annual decline ever. For a company that once grew 50% per year, this is a catastrophe. The stock? Bizarrely, it's UP. Investors don't care about car sales anymore. They're betting on robotaxis, humanoid robots. Elon's promises. But here's the problem. Tesla's a car company, and they're losing the car business to China, to companies they laughed at. The empire is crumbling. Jim Farley, Ford's CEO, had a vision. Electric F-150 Lightning, electric Mustang, electric vans, electric everything. The American auto giant would lead the electric revolution. Fast forward to December 2025. Ford announces a $19.5 billion charge. $19.5 billion. That's not revenue. That's not sales. That's losses. Money literally set on fire. Their Model E division, the electric vehicle unit, lost $5.1 billion in 2024. They project another $5.5 billion loss in 2025. Total EV losses since 2022, over $35 billion. Let that sink in. Ford has burned enough money to buy Netflix, or Starbucks, or rebuild entire cities. They didn't understand their customers. Ford makes money selling F-150s to contractors in Texas, Silverados to ranchers in Montana. Big trucks to working-class Americans who need range, towing capacity, and quick refueling. These customers don't want EVs. They can't use EVs effectively. And Ford tried to force-feed them electric trucks anyway. The F-150 Lightning? Cancelled. The 3-row electric SUV? Cancelled. Cost them $1.9 billion. The electric commercial van? Cancelled. We can't allocate money for things that will not make money, Farley told Reuters. Too late, Jim. You already did, for years. You'd think GM would learn from Ford's disaster. You'd be wrong. General Motors just announced a $6 billion hit from EVs. Cash charges from cancelled supplier contracts, restructuring costs, converting EV plants back to making gas trucks. Remember when GM CEO Mary Barra proudly declared in 2017, "No more gas, no more diesel, no more carbon emissions"? That aged like milk. GM's most profitable vehicles? The GMC Yukon, the Chevy Silverado, the GMC Sierra, all gas-powered. But they poured billions into EVs nobody wanted. The Ultium battery platform, factories retooled for electric production. The Silverado EV that costs $85,000 and nobody's buying. And now, they're converting the Orion, Michigan plant back to making gas-powered SUVs and trucks. The very vehicles they said they'd stop making. Over 1,300 workers at the Lordstown battery plant laid off. GM warns there will be additional future material cash and non-cash charges. Translation: more billions lost. They're not done bleeding yet. Here's what nobody tells you about Detroit's EV disaster. They were betting on government money. The federal $7,500 EV tax credit, state incentives, emissions regulations forcing EV adoption. As long as the government subsidized EVs and punished gas cars, the math could work. Maybe. Then Trump won. October 2025. The EV tax credit expired. Suddenly, that $44,000 Ford Mustang Mach-E costs $51,500 to the customer. The $36,000 Chevy Equinox EV, now $43,500. And those cheaper gas cars Detroit also sells? Looking real attractive again. Customers rushed to buy EVs in Q3 2025, before the credit expired. Ford and GM celebrated. See, demand is there. But Q4 2025, sales collapsed. Turns out people were pulling forward purchases. Once the subsidy disappeared, so did the buyers. The harsh truth: Detroit built an EV business that only works with massive government subsidies. Without them, they're selling cars at a loss. Billions and billions of dollars of losses. Who actually wanted these EVs? Research from UC Berkeley dropped a bomb on the industry in 2024. They analyzed a decade of EV sales data. Want to know who's buying these cars? Wealthy, white, male, liberal, urban. Over half of all US EVs sold in the past decade went to the most heavily Democratic counties in America: Cambridge, San Francisco, Seattle, Austin. That's not a mass market, that's a niche. Ford and GM bet billions that EVs would go mainstream, that working-class Americans would ditch their F-150s for electric trucks. They were catastrophically wrong. The customers who want EVs already bought Teslas. The customers who don't want EVs still don't want them, even with subsidies. Detroit built for a market that doesn't exist. You want to see the real EV bubble? Look at the used car market. Hertz, the rental company, bought 100,000 Teslas in 2021. Smart move, right? EVs are the future. 2024 result: $2.9 billion loss. Used Teslas that cost them $40,000 plus are selling for under $20,000. The company was losing over $530 per car per month. They dumped 30,000 EVs onto the market at fire sale prices. This isn't just Hertz. Every EV is depreciating at catastrophic rates. The average used EV? Losing value 15% faster than gas cars. Some models? 40 to 50% depreciation in just 2 years. A 2024 Chevy Blazer EV that cost $44,000 new? Listed for $30,000 with only 7,000 miles. That's $14,000 lost in months. A Mercedes EQS that originally cost over $100,000, now selling for $35,000. The Porsche Taycan, down 26.6% year over year. Battery anxiety. Nobody knows what a used EV is actually worth because the value is tied up in one component, the battery, with an uncertain lifespan. Technology obsolescence. A 2022 EV feels ancient compared to 2025 models. Range has tripled. Charging speeds doubled. Older EVs become obsolete fast. Subsidy distortion. New EVs got $7,500 credits. Used ones didn't. Why buy used when new was barely more expensive? Infrastructure problems. Used EV buyers in rural areas can't charge them. The pool of potential buyers shrinks dramatically. The result? Car salesmen are now begging customers not to buy EVs. There is no used car market for EVs, one dealer posted on TikTok. Lease them. Don't buy them. You'll be shocked when you try to trade it in 2 years later. This is a crisis. When cars lose half their value before the loan is paid off, the entire financing model collapses. Remember when everyone mocked Toyota for being slow on EVs? Toyota's behind the times. They're missing the electric revolution. Hybrids are dead technology. January 2026. Toyota's laughing all the way to the bank. 2025 US sales, 2.5 million vehicles. Yup, 8%. Hybrid and electrified vehicles, 49% of total sales. 49%. The RAV4, best-selling Toyota model. 479,000 units. It's all hybrid now. Every single RAV4 is a hybrid. The Camry, hybrid only. The Tacoma, 40% sales growth, hybrid. While Ford lost $35 billion and GM lost billions, Toyota made money on every hybrid they sold. Their strategy was simple. Don't bet everything on EVs, offer hybrids, which customers actually want, and slowly transition to electric as infrastructure and batteries improve. Toyota's 1-6-90 rule. The raw materials needed to make one long-range EV could make 6 plug-in hybrids or 90 regular hybrids. Why build one $60,000 EV that one rich person buys when you can build 6 $35,000 hybrids that actual middle-class families can afford? It's not sexy, it's not revolutionary, but it's profitable. And now, Ford, GM, Honda, Volkswagen, they're all pivoting to hybrids, copying Toyota's strategy. The company everyone called slow is now the smartest in the room. So where does this leave us? The EV revolution isn't dead. It's just slower than promised. China will keep dominating. BYD will keep growing. They're building the cheapest, most practical EVs on Earth and flooding global markets. US and European legacy automakers will retreat. More hybrid focus, fewer pure EVs, scaled back targets, more write-downs. Tesla will fight to stay relevant. But they're not the king anymore. They're just another EV maker in a crowded field. The winners? Companies like Toyota that didn't bet the farm on a technology that wasn't ready. Companies that listened to what customers actually wanted instead of what Silicon Valley said they wanted. The losers? Detroit. Stockholders who believed the hype. First-time EV buyers watching their cars depreciate 40% in 2 years. And you, the consumer paying for all these mistakes through higher car prices. Because guess what? Ford and GM didn't just lose money on EVs. They raised prices on gas vehicles to subsidize the losses. You're already paying for their trillion-dollar gamble. Here's what you need to understand. The EV transition is real. It's happening. But it's not happening the way the hype promised. Not in 5 years. Not with everyone driving Teslas. Not with Detroit leading the charge. It's happening in China with $10,000 EVs. It's happening with Toyota's patient hybrid strategy. It's happening slowly and pragmatically, not with revolutionary disruption. The trillion-dollar question is, how many more billions will legacy automakers burn before they accept reality? Ford's lost $35 billion. GM's still losing billions. VW is struggling. Stellantis is retreating. Meanwhile, BYD sells more EVs than Tesla. Toyota makes billions on hybrids, and Chinese companies you've never heard of are building the cars that will dominate the 2030s. The reckoning is here. Some companies will survive. Most won't. And the American auto industry, the one that put the world on wheels, might not be one of them. If this video opened your eyes to what's really happening in the auto industry, hit that like button. Subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest business stories everyone's getting wrong. And drop a comment. Do you think Detroit can survive the EV transition? Or is Chinese domination inevitable? I'm reading every single one. See you in the next video.